What if I told you that in the next few minutes, you're going to meet a kind-hearted mechanic who changed a jilted bride's life forever? Picture this, a young woman in a tattered wedding dress, mascara streaking down her face, standing alone in the pouring rain on a deserted highway. Her dreams of happily ever after are shattered, her groom nowhere to be seen. And then out of nowhere, a stranger, a grease-stained small-town mechanic with a heart bigger than his toolbox, sees something in her that her groom never did. What did he see? Why did he stop for her when no one else did? That's the mystery that brought you here, and I promise you by the end of this video, you're going to get the answer that'll leave you speechless. So grab a cozy blanket, maybe a tissue or two, and let's dive into this emotional roller coaster together. Because this story is about to hit you right in the feels, and I'm not letting you go until we unravel every single heart-wrenching detail. You know that feeling when life throws you a curveball, and you're left wondering if there's any good left in the world? Maybe you've been through a heartbreak, a betrayal, or a moment where you felt completely invisible. That's exactly where our bride, Emily, found herself on that stormy night. She was supposed to be dancing at her wedding reception, surrounded by love and laughter, but instead, she was abandoned, her white dress clinging to her skin as the rain poured down like the tears she couldn't stop. Can you imagine the weight of that moment? The humiliation, the confusion, the sheer devastation of realizing the person you trusted most in the world didn't show up for you? I bet you've felt a piece of that pain before, haven't you? We've all had moments where we felt like the world turned its back on us. But here's the thing. This story isn't just about Emily's heartbreak. It's about the unexpected hero who saw her when she felt invisible, who offered her shelter, not just from the rain, but from the storm inside her heart. And I'm talking to you directly because I know you're here for a reason. You want to believe in kindness, in second chances, in the idea that someone out there might see the real you, even when you're at your lowest. Stick with me, because this story is going to show you exactly why that hope is worth holding on to, and I'm going to make sure you don't miss a single moment of it. Let's set the scene. It's a small, sleepy town in the heart of America. Think rusty pickup trucks, diner coffee that's always a little too strong, and folks who know each other's business a bit too well. The kind of place where nothing big ever happens, or so you'd think. That's where we meet Jake, our kind-hearted mechanic. He's not your typical hero. No cape, no fancy car, just a guy in faded jeans with engine grease under his fingernails and a quiet way of noticing things others miss. Jake spent his life fixing things. Cars, tractors, even the occasional broken heart at the local bar where he listens more than he talks. But nothing could have prepared him for the night he spotted Emily, stranded on the side of Route 17. Her wedding veil tangled in the wind like a ghost of the life she thought she'd have. Now, I want you to put yourself in Jake's shoes for a second. You're driving home after a long day, your radio crackling with some old country tune, and you see this woman, alone, vulnerable, clearly in pain. Would you stop? Be honest. Most people wouldn't. It's late, it's raining, and let's face it, we've all got our own problems. But Jake? He pulled over. Why? What made him different? That's the question that's going to keep you glued to this video, because there's something about Jake, and something about Emily, that you need to understand before this story makes sense. And I'm not going to spoil it yet, but trust me when you find out, it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. Now I know what you're thinking. Okay, this sounds juicy, but what's the catch? Why did Emily's groom ditch her? What's the deal with this mechanic guy? Is this some kind of love story, or is there a twist? Oh, you're smart to ask, and I love that you're already hooked. Here's my promise to you. I'm not going to waste your time with fluff or drag this out with boring details. Every second of this video is crafted to keep you on the edge of your seat, to make you feel like you're right there with Emily and Jake, living this story as it unfolds. You're not just watching a video. You're part of this journey. You're the one I'm telling this story to, and I need you to stay with me because the answers you're craving are coming, and they're bigger than you think. This isn't just a tale of a jilted bride and a kind stranger. It's about what it means to truly see someone, to recognize their worth when they've forgotten it themselves. It's about the kind of love that doesn't always look like flowers and fairy tales, but the kind that shows up when the world feels like it's falling apart. And yeah, I'm using that word, love, on purpose, but don't jump to conclusions just yet. There's a lot more to this than meets the eye, and I'm going to make sure you're here for every surprising twist and turn. Let's talk about Emily for a minute. She's not just some damsel in distress. Far from it. She's the girl next door, the one who always had a plan, who believed in love with her whole heart. She spent months picking out the perfect dress, dreaming of the moment she'd walk down the aisle. But when the music stopped and the guests went home, she was left with nothing but questions. Why did her groom, Ethan, walk away? Was it cold feet, or something deeper, something darker? You're probably wondering what kind of guy does that, right? I mean, who leaves their bride on their wedding day? That's the mystery that's burning in your mind, and I get it. You want to know what kind of jerk Ethan is, and trust me, we're going to dig into that. But here's where it gets interesting. This story isn't about Ethan's betrayal as much as it's about what happens after. It's about how a single act of kindness from a stranger can change everything. Jake didn't just give Emily a ride or a place to stay. He gave her something she didn't even know she needed. And no, I'm not going to tell you what that is yet, because I want you to feel the same anticipation Emily did, the same curiosity that's keeping you watching right now. You're invested, aren't you? I can tell. And that's exactly why I'm not letting you go until we get to the heart of this story together. I want to take a moment to connect with you on a deeper level, because I know you're not just here for drama. You're here for meaning. You're the kind of person who believes in stories that matter, stories that remind us why we keep going even when life feels unfair. Maybe you've been the one who felt abandoned, or maybe you've been the one who stopped to help someone when no one else would. Either way, you get it. You understand that life isn't just about the big moments. It's about the small ones, the ones that happen when no one's watching. That's what this story is about. It's about a mechanic who didn't have to care, but did. It's about a bride who thought her story was over, but was just beginning. And it's about you, sitting there, wondering if there's still hope for a world that sometimes feels so cold. I'm telling you now, there is. And by the time this video ends, you're going to see exactly why. But to get there, you've got to stick with me, because the pieces of this puzzle are about to fall into place, and I promise, it's going to be worth it. So where are we at? Emily's stranded, Jake stopped to help, and you're probably dying to know what happens next. Does Emily spill her heart to this stranger? Does Jake have his own secrets that make him more than just a good Samaritan? And what about Ethan? What's his deal? Here's where I'm going to leave you hanging, because I want you to feel the same pull that Emily felt when Jake opened his truck door and offered her a seat. She didn't know what was coming next, and neither do you. But I'll give you this one little tease. The moment Emily steps into Jake's world, everything changes. There's a reason Jake saw something in her that Ethan never did, and when you find out what it is, it's going to make you rethink everything you thought you knew about love, loss, and second chances. So don't you dare click away. Hit that play button, keep watching, and let's find out together what happens when a kind-hearted mechanic and a jilted bride cross paths on a rainy night. You're not going to believe where this story takes us next. Right where we left off, Emily climbed into Jake's beat-up pickup truck, her soaked wedding dress dripping onto the worn leather seat, the sound of rain pounding against the windshield like a heartbeat that wouldn't slow down. She didn't know this man, this mechanic with quiet eyes and calloused hands, but something about the way he looked at her, not with pity, but with a kind of understanding, made her feel like she could breathe for the first time all night. You're probably wondering what was going through her mind as she sat there. A stranger's jacket draped over her shoulders, the faint smell of motor oil mixing with the damp air. Was she scared? Relieved? Or just too numb to feel anything at all? That's what makes this story so gripping, isn't it? You're not just watching Emily's journey, you're living it with her, feeling the weight of every choice, every unanswered question. And let me tell you, the deeper we go, the more layers we're going to peel back. Because this isn't just about a bride left at the altar or a kind-hearted stranger who stopped to help. There's something bigger brewing here, something that ties Jake and Emily together in ways neither of them could have imagined. So settle in, because I'm about to take you further into this small-town drama, where secrets, heartbreak, and unexpected connections are about to collide. And I need you to stay with me to see how it all unfolds. Let's rewind a bit to understand Emily's world before that rainy night turned everything upside down. Growing up in this sleepy little town, Emily was the girl everyone knew. The one with the bright smile and the big dreams of leaving the dusty streets behind. She wasn't just another face in the crowd. She was the high school sweetheart, the cheerleader who helped organize the town's annual fair, the one who always had a kind word for everyone. But deep down, Emily carried a quiet ache, a longing to be seen for more than her sunny disposition. Enter Ethan, her fiancé, the charming guy who swept into town a few years ago with a flashy smile and promises of a life beyond the cornfields. To Emily, Ethan was her ticket out, her chance at the fairy tale she'd always imagined. They planned a wedding that had the whole town buzzing. String lights, mason jars, a barn reception that screamed Pinterest perfection. But if you're thinking this sounds too good to be true, you're right. There were cracks in Ethan's polished exterior, Moments Emily brushed off, like the way he'd dodge questions about his past or snap when she asked about his late-night phone calls. You're probably starting to piece together why Ethan might have left her at the altar, aren't you? But hold that thought, because there's more to Ethan's story than meets the eye, and I'm not ready to spill that tea just yet. What I will tell you is that Emily's decision to trust Ethan wasn't just about love. It was about her need to escape a town that felt like it was suffocating her, and that's a choice that's going to haunt her as this story unfolds. Now let's shift gears to Jake, because this kind-hearted mechanic is more than just a good Samaritan with a tow truck. Jake's lived in this town his whole life, the kind of guy who knows every backroad and every neighbor's dog by name. He's the one you call when your car breaks down at 2 a.m., the one who fixes your kid's bike for free, the one who never asks for anything in return. But don't let his easygoing vibe fool you. Jake's got his own ghosts. Years ago, he was engaged to a girl named Sarah, the love of his life, until a tragedy no one saw coming tore them apart. Nobody in town talks about it anymore, but you can see it in the way Jake lingers at the diner a little too long, staring at the booth where they used to sit. Why am I telling you this? Because when Jake saw Emily on that highway, it wasn't just a random act of kindness that made him stop. Something about her. Maybe the pain in her eyes, maybe the way she stood there, defiant despite her heartbreak, reminded him of Sarah, of a moment he couldn't save. And here's where it gets juicy. Jake's not just helping Emily out of the goodness of his heart. There's a reason he feels drawn to her, a reason that goes beyond coincidence, and it's tied to a secret he's been carrying for years. You're dying to know what it is, aren't you? I can feel your curiosity from here, and I promise we're going to get there. But first, we need to stir the pot a little more, because this story's about to take a turn you won't see coming. As Emily and Jake drove through the rain, the silence between them was thick, broken only by the occasional squeak of the windshield wipers. Emily clutched the edge of her dress, her mind racing with questions she didn't dare ask. Who was this guy? Why was he being so kind? And more importantly, what was she going to do now? Her phone was dead, her wedding guests long gone, and the life she'd planned was in tatters. But here's where a new layer of mystery creeps in. Back at the barn where the reception was supposed to happen, something strange was unfolding. You see, Ethan didn't just vanish into thin air. One of the caterers, a sharp-eyed woman named Marla who'd known Emily since she was a kid, overheard a heated phone call Ethan took just hours before the ceremony. He was pacing outside, his voice low but furious, talking about getting out before it's too late. Marla didn't think much of it at the time. Ethan always seemed a little slick, a little too smooth. But now, with Emily missing and the town starting to whisper, Marla's starting to wonder if there's more to Ethan's disappearance than a case of cold feet. Was he running from something? Or someone? And how does it connect to Emily, who's now sitting in a stranger's truck, miles away from the life she thought she'd have? You're probably itching to know what Ethan was hiding, and I don't blame you. That's the kind of drama that keeps you glued to the screen, right? But I'm not going to give you all the answers yet, because this story's got more twists than a country backroad, and I want you to feel every bump along the way. Meanwhile, back in town, the gossip mill is in overdrive. You know how small towns are. Nothing stays quiet for long. By morning, everyone from the gas station clerk to the church ladies is talking about Emily's no-show groom and her mysterious disappearance. Some say she ran off with another man, others swear they saw her hitchhiking out of town, and a few even whisper that Ethan's tangled up with some shady folks from the city. But there's one person who's not buying the rumors. Clara, Emily's best friend since grade school. Clara's the kind of friend who'd walk through fire for Emily, and she's not about to let this go without answers. She's been calling Ethan's phone non-stop, leaving voicemails that range from pleading to downright furious, but all she gets is silence. What Clara doesn't know, and what you're about to find out, is that Ethan left something behind at the barn, something that could blow this whole mystery wide open. It's not a love letter or a runaway note, but something far more cryptic, something that hints at a life Emily never knew he was living. You're probably leaning in closer now, wondering what it is, aren't you? I love that you're this invested, because it means you're ready for the next piece of this puzzle. But here's the thing. Clara's about to stumble onto a clue that could change everything, and when she does, it's going to pull her into a web of secrets that stretches far beyond Emily and Ethan. As Jake's truck rumbled toward his small garage on the edge of town, Emily finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. She asked Jake why he stopped for her, why he cared when he didn't even know her name. Jake didn't answer right away, his eyes fixed on the road, but there was a flicker of something in his expression. Guilt, maybe, or regret. You're probably thinking, Come on, Jake, spill it. What's your deal? And I get it, because that's exactly what makes this story so addictive. There's a connection between these two, a thread that's starting to weave them together, but it's tangled in the past, in choices they both made long before that rainy night. Was it fate that brought them together, or something else? And what about Ethan's cryptic phone call, the thing he left behind, and Clara's relentless search for the truth? The tension's building, and I can feel you hanging on every word, waiting for the moment it all clicks. But I'm going to leave you right here, with Emily and Jake pulling into the garage, the rain still falling, and a dozen questions unanswered. What did Jake see in Emily that made him stop? What's Ethan hiding? And what's about to unravel in this small town that will change everything? Keep watching because the next part of this story is going to leave you stunned, and I'm not letting you go until we get there together. Jake's truck rolled to a stop outside his modest garage. The rain had softened to a drizzle, but the air inside the cab felt heavier than ever, thick with unspoken questions and the weight of the night's chaos. Emily sat there, her hands twisting the damp fabric of her wedding dress, stealing glances at Jake, who seemed lost in thought as he cut the engine. You can feel it, can't you? That moment where the world holds its breath, where something's about to shift, and you're not sure if it's going to be a lifeline or a landmine. That's exactly where we are, and I'm pulling you deeper into this heart-pounding story because the stakes are about to climb higher than you ever expected. Emily didn't know it yet, but stepping into Jake's world was like walking into a storm she couldn't see coming. And you, sitting there glued to this video, you're about to uncover a twist that'll make your jaw drop. One that ties Emily, Jake, and even Ethan to a secret so big it could unravel this small town's quiet facade. So don't even think about clicking away. You're in too deep now, and I'm going to make sure you're right here with me when the truth starts to spill, because this drama is about to hit a whole new level of intense. Inside the garage, Jake flicked on a flickering fluorescent light, casting long shadows across the cluttered space filled with tools, oil cans, and the skeleton of an old Mustang he'd been tinkering with for years. Emily hesitated at the threshold, her eyes scanning the room like she was looking for an escape route, but there was something about Jake's steady presence that kept her rooted. He offered her a mug of lukewarm coffee and a dry flannel shirt, and as she changed behind a greasy curtain, she started talking. Softly at first, then with a rush of words that poured out like the rain outside. She told Jake about Ethan, about the wedding that never happened, about the way her groom's eyes went cold the last time they spoke. But here's where things get murky. Emily mentioned a strange moment from the rehearsal dinner, when Ethan got a text that made him go pale, like he'd seen a ghost. He brushed it off, but Emily saw the name on the screen. Lila. Who's Lila? Why did that name make Ethan flinch? You're probably leaning in now, your mind racing with theories, and I love that you're hooked, because this is the kind of mystery that keeps you up at night. But hold on to that curiosity, because Lila's name is just the tip of the iceberg, and what's buried beneath is about to shake Emily's world to its core. For now, let's just say that Ethan's disappearance wasn't as simple as cold feet, and the truth is tied to someone, or something, that's been hiding in plain sight all along. Back in town, Clara was on a mission, her boots stomping through the muddy parking lot of the barn where the wedding was supposed to happen. She wasn't buying the town's gossip about Emily running off or Ethan being some heartless jerk. Clara knew her best friend, and she knew something was wrong. Really wrong. That's when she found it. Tucked behind a stack of hay bales, half hidden under a crumpled napkin, was a small leather-bound notebook. It wasn't Emily's, and it sure wasn't the caterer's. The pages were filled with cryptic numbers, dates, and what looked like coded messages, all in Ethan's messy handwriting. Clara's heart raced as she flipped through it, her fingers trembling. Was this a ledger? A plan? And why was the name Lila scrawled on the last page, circled in red ink? You're probably screaming at the screen right now, wanting Clara to call the cops or at least tell someone, but Clara's not that kind of girl. She's the type who digs until she finds the truth, no matter how dangerous it gets. And trust me, this notebook is about to pull her into a subplot that's as thrilling as it is terrifying, because what Ethan was mixed up in goes way beyond a failed wedding. It's the kind of secret that could put everyone, Clara, Emily, even Jake, in the crosshairs of something much bigger than they realized. Now, here comes the twist you didn't see coming, and I need you to brace yourself because this one's a game changer. As Emily sat in Jake's garage, sipping coffee and spilling her heart, Jake was wrestling with a truth he hadn't told anyone. Not the town, not his buddies at the diner, not even himself in the quiet moments when Sarah's memory kept him awake. You remember Sarah, Jake's lost love? The one who broke his heart all those years ago? Well, Sarah didn't just leave town after their engagement fell apart. She was Lila. That's right, Sarah, the woman Jake loved and lost, was the same Lila whose name sent Ethan running. How do they connect? Why did Jake freeze when Emily mentioned that name, his knuckles whitening around his coffee mug? You're probably reeling right now, trying to piece it together, and I don't blame you. This isn't just a coincidence. It's a thread that weaves Jake's past with Emily's present, and it's about to pull the whole story into uncharted territory. Jake knows something about Lila, something he's been running from for years, and when Emily unknowingly dropped that name, it was like a ghost walked into the room. But here's the kicker. Jake's not sure if he can tell Emily the truth, because doing so might destroy the fragile trust they're building. And you, watching this, you're caught in the same suspense, wondering if Jake's going to come clean or if this secret will tear them apart before they even get a chance to heal. The stakes are skyrocketing now, and the tension's so thick you could cut it with a knife. Back at the barn, Clara's discovery of the notebook has her diving headfirst into a dangerous game. She's texting a friend who works at the sheriff's office, trying to decode the notebook's contents without tipping off the wrong people. But what she doesn't know is that someone's watching her. Someone who saw her snooping around the barn, someone who knows exactly what Ethan was hiding. Meanwhile, in the garage, Emily's starting to notice Jake's unease. He's kind, sure, but there's a shadow in his eyes, a hesitation in his voice that wasn't there before. She's grateful for his help, but she's not naive. She knows there's more to this mechanic than he's letting on. And then there's Ethan, whose absence looms larger with every passing minute. Where is he? What was he running from? And how does Lila or Sarah fit into this tangled web of betrayal and secrets? You're probably buzzing with questions, and I'm loving every second of it, because that's what makes this story so addictive. You're not just watching a drama unfold, you're part of it, piecing together the clues, feeling the weight of every revelation. But I'm going to leave you right here, with Clara clutching the notebook, Jake grappling with his past, and Emily teetering on the edge of a truth she's not ready to face. What happens when these worlds collide? Who's watching from the shadows? And what did Jake see in Emily that's tied to a secret he's kept buried for years? Keep watching, because the next part of this story is going to blow your mind, and I'm not letting you go until we unravel this mystery together. The air in Jake's garage was thick with tension, the dim light flickering like the last thread of hope holding Emily and Jake together as they sat across from each other, the name Lila hanging between them like a storm cloud ready to burst. Emily's eyes searched Jake's face, catching the way his jaw tightened, the way he avoided her gaze when she pressed him about Ethan's mysterious text. You're right there with her, aren't you? Feeling that mix of curiosity and dread, knowing the truth is about to come crashing down like the rain that brought them here. This is it, the moment we've been building toward, the climax of this heart-wrenching story that's kept you glued to the screen. I promised you answers, and I'm delivering them now, but brace yourself, because the resolution of this small-town drama is going to hit you harder than you expect, with a final twist that'll leave you replaying this video in your mind for days. So let's dive into the heart of this mystery, tie up the loose ends, and uncover what Jake saw in Emily that changed everything. Because you're not just watching a story, you're living it, and I'm not letting you go until every secret is laid bare. Emily couldn't take the silence anymore. Her voice, shaky but determined, cut through the quiet, demanding to know why Jake froze at the mention of Lila's name. Jake took a deep breath, his hands gripping the edge of the workbench like he was steadying himself for a fall. He started talking, and with every word, the pieces of this puzzle began to snap into place. Lila, or Sarah as Jake knew her, wasn't just his lost love, she was Ethan's older sister. Years ago, Sarah and Jake were inseparable, planning a life together until she got tangled up with a dangerous crowd from the city. People who ran shady deals, the kind that left no paper trail but plenty of enemies. Sarah tried to pull away, but it cost her everything. One night, she vanished, and the town assumed she'd left Jake for a new life. Only Jake knew the truth. Sarah had been trying to protect him, and her disappearance wasn't a choice, it was a sacrifice. Ethan, her younger brother, had been a teenager back then, but he idolized Sarah and blamed Jake for not saving her. That's why Ethan came to this town, why he pursued Emily. Not out of love, but out of revenge. He wanted to hurt Jake by breaking the heart of someone Jake cared about, someone who reminded him of Sarah. You're probably reeling right now, feeling the weight of that betrayal, and I get it. Emily was a pawn in Ethan's twisted game, but what Ethan didn't count on was Jake's heart, or the way Emily's strength would shine through even in her darkest moment. Across town, Clara was piecing together her own part of the puzzle, the cryptic notebook burning a hole in her pocket as she met her friend from the sheriff's office at the diner. The coded messages weren't just random scribbles, They were records of Ethan's dealings with the same dangerous crew Sarah had crossed, a group that was still active and now looking for Ethan after he tried to back out. The notebook's last entry, dated the day of the wedding, showed Ethan planning to disappear, but not before leaving a final message for Jake, a cruel taunt about breaking Emily the way Jake broke Sarah. Clara's blood ran cold as she realized Emily might still be in danger. Not from Ethan, but from the people he owed. She grabbed her phone, dialing Emily's number, but it went straight to voicemail. Panic set in, and Clara raced toward Jake's garage, unaware that the shadowy figure who'd been watching her at the barn was trailing close behind. You can feel the tension skyrocketing, right? This is the climax, where every thread, Emily's heartbreak, Jake's guilt, Clara's determination, and Ethan's betrayal, collides in a moment that'll decide their fates. But don't worry, I'm not leaving you hanging yet. We're about to see how this all comes together, and trust me, it's going to be worth every second. Back at the garage, Jake's confession hit Emily like a tidal wave. She sat there, stunned, realizing her entire relationship with Ethan had been a lie, a carefully crafted plan to settle an old score. But instead of crumbling, something in Emily shifted. She looked at Jake, really looked at him, and saw the pain he'd carried for years, the guilt that had shaped him into the kind-hearted man who stopped for a stranger in the rain. In that moment, she understood what Jake saw in her that Ethan never did. Her resilience, her ability to keep going even when the world tried to break her. She reached for his hand, a silent promise that they were in this together, but before they could say another word, the garage door rattled, and Clara burst in, breathless and wide-eyed. She spilled everything: the notebook, Ethan's ties to the criminals, the danger that was closing in. And then, in a heartbeat, the lights went out, plunging the garage into darkness. A figure stepped into the doorway, and Emily's heart stopped as she recognized the voice. Ethan. He wasn't gone. He'd been waiting, watching, ready to confront Jake one last time. You're probably on the edge of your seat, your pulse racing as you imagine the standoff, and I'm right there with you, because this is where the story explodes into its most gripping moment. Ethan's voice was cold, laced with years of resentment, as he accused Jake of letting Sarah die, of failing her when she needed him most. Jake didn't flinch, but his voice was steady as he told Ethan the truth. Sarah had been trying to save him, to keep him out of the life she was trapped in. Ethan didn't want to hear it. His hand twitching towards something in his jacket. A gun. A knife. Emily couldn't tell in the dark. But before things could escalate, Clara did what Clara does best: she acted. She'd noticed the tailpipe of Jake's old Mustang, rigged with a makeshift alarm from his tinkering days, and she yanked it hard, setting off a blaring noise that startled Ethan. In that split second, Jake lunged, pinning Ethan to the ground, and Emily grabbed a wrench, ready to defend herself if she had to. The chaos was over in seconds, but it felt like a lifetime, and when the sheriff's deputies, tipped off by Clara's friend, stormed in, Ethan was done. Handcuffed and silent, he was led away. His plan to destroy Jake crumbling under the weight of his own choices. You're probably breathing a sigh of relief, but don't relax just yet, because there's one final twist that's going to leave you speechless. As the dust settled, Emily, Jake, and Clara sat in the garage, the first rays of dawn creeping through the windows. The danger was over, but the emotional fallout was just beginning. Emily realized she didn't need Ethan or the fairy tale she'd chased. She was stronger than she ever knew, and Jake's kindness had shown her that. Jake, for the first time in years, felt the weight of Sarah's loss lift, replaced by a quiet hope that maybe he could start again. Clara, ever the loyal friend, vowed to never let Emily out of her sight again. But here's the twist that'll hit you like a freight train. As the deputies searched Ethan's car, they found a letter tucked under the seat, written in Sarah's handwriting. It was dated a year after her disappearance, addressed to Jake, confessing that she was alive, hiding from the criminals she'd crossed, and begging him to move on. She'd been watching from afar, ensuring Ethan didn't destroy him completely. Sarah, Lila, was out there somewhere, still protecting Jake, and now Emily, in her own way. You're probably floored, right? The idea that Sarah's been alive all this time, a ghost in the background, changes everything. It's the kind of ending that leaves you awestruck, wondering what's next for these characters you've come to love. So, what's the takeaway from this wild ride? This story isn't just about a jilted bride or a kind-hearted mechanic. It's about seeing people for who they really are, about finding strength in the moments that break you, and about the unexpected connections that can heal even the deepest wounds. Emily found her worth, Jake found redemption, and Clara found her Stuart's loyalty proved that friendship can weather any storm. And you, sitting there, you're part of this journey, feeling every twist and turn like it's your own. As you walk away from this video, carry that lesson with you. Look for the good in others, because sometimes, like Jake saw in Emily, it's the one thing that can change everything. So, hit that like button, share this story with someone who needs to hear it, and let me know in the comments what moment left you speechless. Keep watching, keep believing in kindness, and I'll see you in the next video, because there's always another story waiting to steal your heart.